Hey, everyone! Thanks for clicking in. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got something pretty fascinating to dig into from the recent headlines, a surprising shakeup inside the MAGA world around President Trump and what it might mean for the movement's future. So, picture this. On one hand, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, a longtime MAGA figure and one of President Trump's loudest allies, announcing her resignation from Congress effective January 5, 2026. On the other hand, President Trump meets with Zohran Mamdani, the newly elected mayor of New York City, someone from the Democratic Socialist wing of politics. Yes, you heard that right. The same President Trump who months ago criticized Mamdani harshly. Let's walk through what's going on, why it matters, and I'll sprinkle in some thought-provoking questions for you along the way. First up, Marjorie Taylor Greene's departure. She's been a major figure in the MAGA base, pushing many of its core messages and defending President Trump repeatedly. But her announcement didn't sound like someone simply stepping down out of exhaustion. It sounded like someone breaking with the movement's direction. She's been openly frustrated with what she views as a drift away from the America First principles she championed. She raised concerns about transparency, accountability, and whether the movement is still fighting for the common people. And then came her resignation. What's interesting here is the symbolic meaning. It's more than one person leaving Congress. It's a sign that an internal battle may be brewing between ideological purity and loyalty to the movement's leadership. So here's a question for you. If you were part of a movement built around both ideology and a leader, what should matter more when the two start pulling in different directions? Loyalty? Principles? Something else? Now on to President Trump's meeting with Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. And this is where things get really intriguing. Not long ago, Trump and Republicans were using Mamdani as an example of the socialist threat. But when the two met in the Oval Office, the tone was completely different. They exchanged compliments. They spoke about shared concerns like housing and public safety. Trump even said he thought Mamdani would do a great job. That friendly move surprised pretty much everyone. This moment suggests that President Trump might be less interested in rigid ideological lines and more interested in building influence wherever he can. A movement once defined by ideological battles might now be shifting into something more flexible and personal. Here's something to think about. Can a political movement maintain strength if its identity shifts based on alliances and circumstances rather than consistent principles? Or does that flexibility make it more powerful? Putting the two stories together, Greene leaving, Mamdani embraced, you start to see a picture forming. It looks like the alliances inside the MAGA movement are evolving. People who once seemed essential may find themselves pushed to the side. Meanwhile, new relationships that once seemed impossible are suddenly welcome. That raises big questions about what the movement stands for right now and what it will stand for in the years ahead. If you're someone who watches political movements long-term, this is the kind of pivot point that matters. Is MAGA still organized around a tight ideological core? Or is it becoming a more open, more flexible brand centered on President Trump's strategic choices? And here's the biggest question of all. What happens to a movement built around one person when that person eventually steps back? Does the movement break? Does it transform? Or does new leadership emerge? So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's simple. These moments aren't random. They're signals. Signals of a shifting movement, a reshaping coalition, and a future that might look very different from the MAGA we've known for years. Whether that future is more unified, more fractured, or more unpredictable, that's still unfolding. Thanks for hanging out with me for this deep dive. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And let me know in the comments, do you think the MAGA movement is changing into something new because of President Trump's latest moves? Or is this just temporary political strategy? I'm excited to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one, and as always, stay curious.